This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com and GatheringMagic.com, your place to explore the game.
Hi, I'm David from the YouTube channel The Commander Lounge, and this is my Xira Arien Commander deck. Okay, so this is a Jund Eldrazi reanimation deck, and the reason why I picked Xira Arien is because she won't really paint a target on my head in the beginning of the match. I mean, it depends. I mean, if I come out reanimating on turn 1 or 2, I'll get a target paint on my head anyways, but for the most part, people aren't going to be looking straight at me to just, you know, guns a-blazing just because my general's offensive. And also, I just really like the art. I like that nobody really plays her. She's different, and I also like that she can get political if I need her to be, and she's card advantage. I mean, she's not terrible for a Legends legend, you know. So yeah, there's the reason why I picked her. Let's get into Xira's stats. You pay Jund colors for a 1/2 flying, I believe, insect wizard, and then you can pay Jund tapper to make target player draw a card. So that's pretty sweet. So let's get into the lands next. These are the utility lands. This is actually the first deck I think I've built that doesn't run Reliquary Tower because I do want to fuel my graveyard. So instead we're going to start with Strip Mine. So we want to get rid of problem lands, so we have Strip Mine. Ghost Quarter does the same thing, or it can fix my colors if I need to. Next is Ancient Tombs, just a great ramp card. Kessig Wolf Run, just a great endgame card. Grim Backwoods, I think the #1 thing to worry about in this deck, I mean, 2 things to worry about. One's graveyard hate, the second is them taking your big Eldrazi's, so you'd like to sacrifice them in response. Unfortunately, sacrificing a huge thing for 1 card doesn't seem right, but it has to happen. The better way to answer this is Homeward Path, just to get it back. So now we go into the fetch lands. I run Wooded Foothills, Bloodstained Mire, Jund Panorama, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, and next is the lands that tap for all 3 colors. We got Command Tower, City of Brass, Mana Confluence, Reflecting Pool, and Savage Lands. And next is the lands that tap for 2 colors. We got Bayou, Taiga, Badlands, and Shocklands. We got Overgrown Tomb, Stomping Grounds, Blood Crypt. And then I like to check lands because usually when I'm running green, I'm running ramps. That gets basic lands, so it's a lot easier for them to, you know, for the lands to come into play on tap. So I run Woodland Cemetery, Rootbound Crag, and Dragonskull Summit. And then the last dual color land, it's actually a man land with Raging Ravine. It's just my favorite man land because it scales, it keeps getting bigger after the Wrath. So that's why I like that. Now I'm going into my basic lands. I run 5 forests, I believe. Yep. And then I run a Bojuka Bog because I do want to get rid of other graveyards, other strategies like mine. And then I run Urborg just to fix my mana right. And I run 2 swamps. And 2 mountains also. Alright, so now on to the ramp package. I run Soul Ring. I run Birds of Paradise, tap for anything. Soul Ring's just an amazing card. I know I just blanked out on there on Soul Ring, but you guys know what Soul Ring does. Sakura-Tribe Elder, Rampant Growth on a stick. Kadama's Reach, and Cultivate. If you guys haven't heard it from me before, these are my favorite ramp cards. They're just amazing. Oracle Mul Daya, just great ramps, play extra lands. Also filters the top of your deck, which is insane. Next is my card advantage / card draw. Crystal Ball, it's Budget Sensei's Divining Top. Scry 2 is amazing, awesome. Faithless Looting. There are going to be a lot of times I'm going to start with big stuff in my hand in the beginning, and this doesn't only just give me, you know, the card advantage I need, but it also lets me get rid of fuel the graveyard with the big creatures I need to put in there. Next is Sylvan Library, just a fantastic card, just great draw, gotta have it. Wheel of Fortune, once again, start out with big things. This is an easy way to get it into the graveyard when I have it into my hand. And also, if you use this early enough, it kind of messes up with your opponent's strategy when they have to grab a new grip. It's not exactly what they wanted to start with. Dark Deal is the same thing. It's not as good as the wheel because it's only how many cards you have in your hand, so you want to use this as early as possible. And it's also -1, so it doesn't draw you a full 7. It's whatever you have in your hand. It's -1. And then Magus of the Wheel is awesome because it's Wheel of Fortune on a stick. That's amazing. It's pretty cool. Love the art too. Now I go into my removal, starting out with this Rakdos Charm is mainly used for graveyard removal, but you could also get rid of artifacts and mess with token strategies. Try to kill people when they're going wide with tokens. Run the Glamour mainly for gods, I think. Anything indestructible that's an artifact or enchantment, just get rid of it. I love the tuck for that, even though I know it's not going to tuck a god general. At least it's something, you know, to answer it for right now. I think a lot of decks should be worried about gods because indestructible gods are crazy. Putrefy is probably one of my favorite removal cards to run in Commander because it's a creature or an artifact, and there's always going to be an artifact, I feel, in a Commander game, especially if you're playing against people that aren't playing green that needs mana rocks. So this could slow them down. And it also makes the creature not be able to regenerate, which is important. Beast Within, it's the best removal in green, so that's why we run it. Decree of Pain, if I'm going to Wrath everything, I'm going to draw cards from Wrathing everything. It's the saying's true, card advantage. Drawing cards wins you the game. If you draw more cards, most of the time you're going to win. Then we go into the reset buttons when everything's getting too crazy. Oblivion Stone, you pay 8 to destroy everything. Perilous Vault, you pay 9 to exile everything. So it's pretty sweet. Although we don't get our good things back in our graveyard, sometimes that's worth it. Next is my Regrowth, my Recursion package, and I do run a little bit more because I'm dealing more with the graveyard, so we start out with Regrowth as the first one. Regrowth is just a staple. Same thing with Eternal Witness, just Regrowth on a stick. And then I run Vengeful Rebirth. I wasn't too big a fan of this card until I built this deck, because, you know, it just works both ways. Like, I'm either paying for a really expensive, like, reanimate spell to bring back to also deal a little bit of damage to take care of a creature or something, or I can use this for endgame just to throw an Eldrazi at someone's face, usually, or destroy a huge creature if I need to. But it's just so cool. It becomes like a toolbox card in this deck, and that's why I really like it. Unfortunately, it exiles, but whatever, that happens. And now these are the cards to fill my graveyard with. This is a new one from Shadows over Innistrad, and it's called Vessel of Nescency, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's 1 green for an enchantment. You pay 1 green and 1 color, so sacrifice it, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. This actually replaced Mulch because there's just more things I could grab with it. You know, I don't run any planeswalkers, so it doesn't hit planeswalkers for me, but enchantment, you can hit Animate Dead, creature, you can hit Feldon or something, artifact, you know, the Perilous Vault or anything like that, land, you know. It's great. It's fantastic. Next is Satyr Wayfinder. It only grabs me lands, but it is on a stick, which is important because I don't have too many creatures in this deck. Well, too many cheap creatures in this deck. I got a lot of reanimation targets instead, so he's one that I like to have out. Next is Commune with the Gods. It's top 5. Put back an enchantment or creature from among them and put the rest into my graveyard. It's a great way to fill up the graveyard. Grisly Salvage is insanely good. It's such a good card. You know, I grab a creature or land card, top 5 cards, but the main reason why this card is so awesome is because you can play this at instant speed. When I built this deck, I didn't even know. I thought it was a sorcery because I just thought they were all sorceries. And I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is an instant. That's really good. It's fantastic. Next is another new one from Shadows over Innistrad, and that is Mindwrack Demon. 2 black, 2 colorless for a 4/5 flying trample demon and when he enters the battlefield, I put the top 4 cards of my library into my graveyard. Delirium is, if I don't have Delirium, I take 4 damage each upkeep, but that should not be a problem in this deck. This should be the easiest way to hit Delirium. You know, Commander's I think that's the best way to hit Delirium is in a reanimation strategy like this. So I should be never taking damage from this. It's a nice early threat too. It's a nice early way to get in damage, and it also fills up my graveyard, so it's great. This is actually not only another way to fill up my graveyard, but it's another recursion package. And I didn't even know this is another card I didn't even know. I didn't even know it was a regrowth on a stick until I read it again. But you know, it's 2/3 reach spider. At the beginning of my upkeep, put 2 cards from my library into my graveyard, and I can pay Golgari and a colorless and exile it to return target card from my graveyard to your hand. That is really, really good. Once again, we have, I think this is the last new card from Shadows over Innistrad. I absolutely love this card. I played this in the pre-release, and it was so much fun. It was real good. That's Crawling Sensation. It's 1 green, 2 colorless enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put the top, I don't have to do this if someone's on the mill plan. You may put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. The coolest part is whenever 1 or more land cards are put into the graveyard from anywhere for the first time each turn, put a 1/1 insect creature token onto the battlefield. So you don't get, you know, trigger off of each land for the 1/1, but it's so cool because you could honestly, you know, you could start out by milling 2 and then hit a land, getting a 1/1, and then on somebody else's turn you can actually like crack one of your fetch lands, because that counts, and get a 1/1 for that. And then it also triggers off your other ways of filling your graveyard. So it's it seems really good for this deck. And next card is Life from the Loam. I mean, you can recur strip mines back over and over again if you want to be that guy. I mean, you know, when the game goes on for so long, sometimes you got to take that route. But I mainly use it just to fill up my graveyard as, you know, dredge 3 just over and over again. It's really good. It's a really good card. Now we go into the cards that we want to put in our graveyard. Starting out with the Eldrazi package. We start out with Bane of Balaged, and it basically is like a pseudo Annihilator. It's like Exile Annihilator, I guess you can call it, because whenever it attacks, defending player exiles 2 permanent he or she controls. It's a 7/5 for 7. We're just looking to bring this out as early as possible. Break Over Armies. I really love this card because, you know, if I mass reanimate, I make sure all my other fatties get in, and then all the attention goes to him. I think it's like a prized unicorn on mega steroids. So that's why I have it. Ulamog's Crusher, 8 for Annihilate, 2/8/8. He has to attack each turn, that's fine. Hand of Emrakul. We can sacrifice 4 Eldrazi spawns, but most of the time we're just going to reanimate it for a 7/7 Annihilator 1. Void Winnower, I actually just picked him up yesterday. In 9 for 11/9, your opponent can't cast spells of even converted mana cost, and your opponent can't block with creatures with even converted mana cost. So no token blocks. It's pretty sweet. Artisan of Kozilek, 9 for a 10/9. If I cast it, I can reanimate again, but if I reanimate this, I'm not getting this ability triggered. That's not going to trigger. But it's a Annihilator 2 10/9, so we're running it. Next is Spawn Sire of Ulamog. He is 10 for Annihilate 1. And pay 4 to put 2/0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens onto the battlefield, which you can sacrifice for 1 mana. But the coolest thing is the bottom one, where it says you can pay 20, cast any number of Eldrazi cards you own from outside the game. I actually do have the Eldrazi cards set off to the side. I got these off to the side. I believe it's 24 of these. So I run. If I get to 20, I basically cast 24 Flare Drones, and that should be enough with the exponentially triggering as it goes. It should be good. So yeah, that's living the dream though. That's when you face a group hug deck that ends up deciding to give everybody double mana. That's when I think I will hit that. So, all right, on to the next one. We got Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. This is another card I actually just picked up yesterday. The only problem is that I have to cast him to get the first ability to exile 2 target permanents, but reanimating a 10/10 indestructible as early as possible that can attack and exile the top 20 cards of the defending player's library is insane. It's a lot. It's crazy. Next is Pathfinder of Ulamog, 11 for a 9/9 Annihilator 3, and it has Menace essentially. It's just really good Eldrazi. And I think the last Eldrazi is It That Betrays. It's 12 for an 11/11 Annihilator 2, and whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Now, the cool thing about it is that, Annihilator brings back the cards as long as it's not a token, like it says, last token sacrifice. Annihilator's going to give me things when people sacrifice their things, which is awesome. So that's fantastic. That's why I run so many Annihilators. And now next is just other creatures just to reanimate for value. We got Gold Tree. You can either reanimate him early, or if you can't find a reanimation spell, you can actually just use all the graveyard creatures to reduce the mana cost of this. So usually I'll be paying like 1 for a 10/10, which is value. Next, Life Gain Package, Wormcoil Engine. It's my favorite card in general, I believe. It's so much value, and Lifelink it's such a good card. Next is Palaka Worm. This card it combos real well with Felden of the Third Path, because if he's in the graveyard, I can do this over and over again every turn and gain 7 life and draw a card. So it's really good. Terracodon is fantastic for maybe that same reason with Felden, but it's also just great to either destroy my lands to go wide with creatures, or just get rid of problem permanents. Well, non-creature permanents. Sheoldred Whispering One. This card's ridiculous, making everybody sacrifice at their upkeep and me reanimate. Keeps me on the reanimation strategy, so it's great. Barbarigmas actually wins me a lot of games. I think most of the games I've been playing, I've been winning because of Barbarigmas. The cool thing is that I have a decent amount of lands in hand, so I can discard to bolt things and stuff. But the coolest thing is that when it deals damage to an opponent, you reveal the top 3 cards of your library and put all lands into your hand, but the rest goes to your graveyard, so it also keeps you on the graveyard strategy for reanimation. And then I run Dragonlord Colligan as a, if I mass reanimate, I can make sure that they all have haste, or, it's just good as beginning reanimation to make sure your next Eldrazi you reanimate has haste. So that's why we run it. And now for the reanimation spells. Reanimate, it's a great card, but just remember, you do pay life when you reanimate in this. Because I did have a game where I turn 3 reanimated a It That Betrays, and then at the end of that turn they killed it. So I took 12 life for nothing, pretty much. It felt like it was. That's why we run these strategies. It's kind of like an all-in strategy, so it's fun. Exhume, I guess, is your group hug version of reanimate. A lot of times I use this. It's so early to the point where no one has anything in their graveyard unless, we're facing mill players, or I'm facing a fellow reanimation deck. Next is Animate Dead. Yes, it takes off a power, but I think that's worth it to try to get something out on turn 2 to 3 or 4 or whatever. It's just a great reanimation spell. Necromancy, we could use at instant speed, but we have to sacrifice the creature at the end of that turn, I believe. Most of the time we're just going to use it as just straight reanimation on our turn. Victimize is really good for 3 mana. We do have to sacrifice a creature, but that's usually not a problem. But we get 2 reanimation spells, essentially. We get 2 creatures back, which is awesome. And the art's insane. Felden of the Third Path might be my favorite reanimation spell. That's not really a reanimation spell, because it's not bringing it back from the graveyard, it's just copying it as an artifact. But it's such a good card, because you can just do it every turn. I don't know how this card doesn't say after you copy it, exile that card from your graveyard, because being able to do it every single turn and not being worried to lose the card you're reanimating is so good. You're sacrificing at the end, but you can do it every single time. It's great. I love this card with Spore Frog too. He's in here somewhere. You'll see him soon. Next is Diabolic Servitude. It is essentially a Rancor in reanimation. As long as if they kill the creature, I get this back to my hand that I reanimate. So that's pretty sweet. Dread Return's pretty sweet because I can flash it back by sacrificing 3 creatures. So it's double reanimation if I need it. And then we're going into the mass reanimation. Live and Death is an all-star. It is one of those cards where it almost feels like an Oblivion Stone, because it feels like when you're up against it, it just gets rid of everything in it. You know, with your strategy that you're doing, you should have a ton of creatures by that time, and it pretty much takes over the game. I love Living Death. Such a great card. And then Rise of the Dark Realms, I mean, it's kind of like an I win card, but at the same time, it's the flavor of my deck. It fits in perfectly. It's a great card, and it looks sweet. It's like Liliana's crowd surfing on zombies. That's awesome. All right, so now to my utility creatures. We run Spore Frog because it is my literally pet card. If I could have a pet in the multiverse of Magic, it would be a Spore Frog. I'd just put a leash on this guy and just chill out with him until he disappeared in a fog. He's awesome. And I love him with Felden because I can do it, especially when I'm heads up, it turns into like a Turbo Fog deck. It's hilarious. Putrid Imp, I run him mainly because I start out with big things in my hand sometimes, and it's a good way to get it straight into the graveyard. Lotleth Troll is the same thing, but I mean, it can be a chump blocker that regenerates, which is pretty sweet. And then this guy we want to get into our graveyard as soon as possible so we can make sure our Eldrazi that we reanimate have haste, or any other creature, which is great. And Archfiend of Depravity, I run this because it just keeps, like, I'm fine having every opponent have 2 creatures against, like, my 2 Eldrazi or even my 1 Eldrazi. So it kind of bottlenecks the creatures up to make sure that it's usually a good fight in my favor. So yeah guys, that's my Xira Arien deck. If you guys like this video, if you guys like this deck tech and how I presented it, I actually have a YouTube channel called The Commander Lounge. So yeah, stop by and check that out if you guys get the time. And if you guys like reanimations spells and you guys are still all psyched about Eldrazi's, you guys should give this deck a try. So yeah. Thank you for watching CMDR Decks. Please subscribe and favorite.